Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. Tekken 8 is launched, and with it, we got a whole new era of fighting game goodness. Now, one of the things about Tekken 8 that makes it so different than all of its predecessors is the heat system. And that's exactly what this video is going to be talking about. The heat system is super core. It's like the most important mechanic in Tekken 8 for the most part, right? And every character has it, every character needs to use it, and for you, you need to understand how to use it as well. So what we're going to do in this video is just basically cover everything there is to need to know about the heat mechanic. From the basics to some of the more esoteric stuff, we'll also cover some character specifics, because every character is at their best in heat mode, and lots of characters get things they can only do in heat mode. So let's talk the basics. The heat mode, what is it? It's that blue bar underneath your health. And yes, it leads to effectively an install where a timer counts down, and while it's counting down, you're the best character you can be. And it will go away when it's done, can't be used anymore until the next round. Yes, it refills every single round, win or lose. So do not be afraid to use it. Do not end a round dead, losing a round, and you never use the heat meter, because if you use the heat meter, then you might have won the round, right? So always use it. It refills every single round. Now, before we get into the specifics of a lot of what heat can do, let's talk about, well, how do we get into heat? There's two main ways. You can do a raw activation or a heat engager. So what's a raw activation? Raw activation is just hitting 2 and 3 at the same time. Your character will strike a pose and attack. And there's some really lovely things about this specifically. One, on the attack, you'll always have very slight advantage. Even if the opponent happens to block the move, you'll have just even like +1 advantage. You always have a little bit to work with, right? That's great. Also, the attack is armored. So if the opponent is just swinging at you, you can literally just go through the attacks and no big deal. The attacks will not stop you. Now, something to note, it doesn't happen on the first possible frame. So if it hits you very early on the activation, you still will get hit. You need a couple frames to go by before the armor kicks in. And specifically, it will not save you from lows. Armor in Tekken, how armor works is armor will stop highs and mids, but it won't stop lows. So if a low's coming your way, you're still going to get tapped out of it, so just beware. The only way to do it is just to be first, or sometimes you can trade, as you can see. But still very powerful. It's an armored attack, and once you go into it, you're in heat mode and you get all the benefits. Now, the fact that there's an attack, sometimes if you want to just activate, you don't necessarily want the attack. Like maybe you're far away, it won't connect, and they could punish your whiff. If you activate, hit 2, 3 at the same time, and then hit back, what'll happen instead is you'll just do a little taunt instead. You won't commit to the attack, like it is if you just normally do it. So you won't overcommit, you can just gain the heat state in place. Everyone has their own unique taunt animations, by the way. So it's a fun little bit of character expression, like Jack literally flexes on you. The other way to go into heat is through what we call the heat engager. A lot of characters in this game just have basically specific moves that are keyed to go into the heat mode if they connect. And it has to actually hit. It cannot be blocked, FYI. So 2 examples for Nina here. Forward 1+2, which is also armored, so that's helpful. And also critical forward 2. Both of these moves, if they connect, if you have heat, you haven't gone into it yet, then we'll automatically go into the heat mode. So these are very handy for multiple reasons. One, you don't got to worry about timing, spacing, whatever. If it connects, you just go into it, right? And when you go into it, no matter what, you're going to have massive frame advantage over the enemy. Like you can see here, we connect, and the frame counter says we're +17. So nothing's guaranteed. Like even though stand 1's 10 frames or something like that, it's not a guaranteed combo. But what is guaranteed is the fact they got to start guessing. So when you're +17 in their face, basically whatever you're going to do first is always going to win. So at that point, okay, let's make you guess, right? Let's go for the classic mid-low. All right, am I going to go for a mid and launch you, or am I going to go low and sweep you, right? And for the most part, they have no recourse other than to just properly guess correctly, because they're at such frame disadvantage, anything they're going to do is just going to lose. The raw heat burst is great. It gives you a little frame advantage, sure, but it gives you no kind of frame advantage like this. This is on a whole nother level, right? You effectively get 1 free guaranteed mix-up if you hit with a heat engager, whatever the heat engager may be. Also, the other bonus is look at the actual meter here. Look at the actual heat meter. When we do a heat engager, it starts from full. When you do a raw activation of the heat burst, you have most of the meter, but it actually starts partway down the line. So a raw activation will not give you as much heat meter to work with overall. If you want to maximize your heat benefit, you have to start with a heat engager. You get more meter overall, like only right here. There we go. Now we're at the level a heat burst would be. Every character has multiple heat engagers, tons of them. They're very important. You can easily find them in the move list. These should be right here in the section called heat moves. And you can kind of figure it out from there. These are some of your most important attacks in the game, period. It also helps that a lot of a character's heat engager moveset is also just simply a lot of their best moves, period. So these are moves you're going to want to use regardless. Okay, going into our next section here. We're in heat now. Great. What do we do? What's up? One of the most important things of heat just out of the gate is your moves all do chip damage. It doesn't matter what it is. It'll just always do chip. And if the opponent blocks enough, man, they can take a lot of recoverable health and damage. And depending on the character's offensive potential, they can get very annoying with it, and that chip can build up very, very, very fast. Also, speaking of recoverable health, if you hit the opponent with a heat engager, you actually get a substantial amount of your recoverable health back. So you don't get that on the raw heat burst. So that's a good way to heal yourself, is to do the heat engager. Also, while in heat, you gain access to your heat smash. So you just do that by hitting 2 and 3 again. And it's effectively your character's super move, if you will. If they connect, you better believe they're going to do a fair amount of damage. Even if they're blocked, they're usually going to do a good amount of chip damage. And almost every heat smash, not exactly every heat smash, but almost every heat smash is advantage on block. And just because it's your super, don't rush into it. You can do it right away, and if you do it right away, it will drain all your meter. But if you wait for your meter to be almost empty, and you're doing all sorts of cool pressure and all sorts of cool things instead while it's happening, it's still going to be the exact same move at the exact end of your heat meter than it was at the beginning of the heat meter, right? So don't feel the pressure to go into it right away. It's waiting for you, don't worry. You also gain access to the heat dash. So you have to already be in heat, and when you do this, you can basically dash cancel a move, like say it was like Street Fighter 4 or something like that, right? And that has a lot of benefits, and we're going to talk about that in its own section in a moment. And the big benefit, the biggest benefit of being in heat mode is not universal. It's character to character. Every character becomes the best version of themselves in heat mode because they gain so many new things. Some characters, they get moves turbocharged. Other characters just get all new moves. So let's take Nina, for example, here. Nina, she's got the guns this time around, right? And in heat mode, the guns get way better. 18 damage normally. Try 38 in heat. Pretty crazy. And they do respectable chip damage in and of themselves, but in heat mode, the chip damage gets kind of cracked out, as you can see here. It's almost double. You absolutely cannot afford to block more than a couple of these. You're going to be losing too much health. And for Nina, you know, powered up guns, that's actually one of the most vanilla things. So let's switch to someone else. How about someone like Reina? Reina is one of the very few characters that has the mighty electric wind god fist. It's a great move, right? The problem is, it's hard to do. It's hard to do. This is my second take, actually. I didn't get it on the first take. I'm not going to lie to you, right? It's hard to do. But in heat mode, all the people with those fancy electrics, you can be as sloppy as you want. Why? Because no matter your timing, when you're in heat mode, you will always get the best version of the electric. So all the benefit of this ultra powerful move with none of the execution requirements. And this is the same for Reina, it's the same for Kazuya, it's the same for Jin. So if this is something you struggle with, and like, don't feel bad, it's not the easiest, right? This is something you struggle with. In heat mode, you can go to town and literally just spam these moves. How about Jack? How about something appropriately overwhelming for our giant Terminator? In heat mode, his stance 2 specifically, if you block it, don't feel good about it. Because if you block it, you messed up. Why? Stance 2 in heat mode is a guard break. And guard breaks mean, whatever the frame data may be, if you have a move that's as fast or faster, they can't block anymore. Guard breaks are incredibly powerful. And when you know it, specifically his heat smash, where he shoots like his giant laser gun at you, is exactly the right amount of frames. So for Jack, if you block stance 2 in heat, This is literally guaranteed damage. You can't stop it in any way, shape, or form. You screwed up by blocking. And like in fighting game logic, blocking is the right thing to do, right? But no, if you block this move, you messed up. You had to evade it. You had to sidestep or you had to just not be in the way. Because if you're in the way, when Jack's in heat, he just literally runs you over. Game over. Someone like Asuka, she has a buff she can give herself called Naniwa Gusto, and it has to be off very specific moves. And while she has it, she has access to like super ignorant, amazing moves. But she only can do it when the buff's up, right? But in heat mode, the buff is always live. So that means she can always do her stupid, gigantic moves and just crush you. You get hit by these stupid moves? Oh well, you're probably going to die a little bit, right? That sucks for you. Don't get hit by them. They do stupid chip damage and they're all advantage on block. So like, it's always going to work out. Someone like Zafina, she has a lot of moves that summon the Azazel power. And these are all quite powerful for what they are. The only thing is, due to the relative power, they actually drain a little bit of life. So like, there's a pretty sizable downside to it, right? But in heat mode, not only do they not drain life anymore, they all gain the armor effect, Power Crush. So they're all super armored now too. So these cool demon moves that drained your health a little bit, now, hey, no worry, no health drained. And by the way, they're all gigantic tank moves now because they all have Power Crush armor. So I don't want to go through the entire cast here, but I'm just trying to impress upon you that besides the cool universal effects of heat, every character gets very sizable benefits that directly benefit their unique moveset. Now let's talk the heat dash. So the heat dash I mentioned earlier is something you can only do when you're already in heat mode, and it's very powerful. So all it is take any move that's already a heat engager. If it's a heat engager at all, you can do it, and then hold forward after the move connects. There's no complex motion. It's not like a focus attack dash cancel where you gotta hold buttons and that. Like, don't worry, just hold forward after the move and you're good to go, right? So as long as it's a heat engager, hold forward, you heat dash cancel. But there's a lot to it. One, heat dash cancels just pretty much universally are advantage on block. So they drain all of your meter. It doesn't matter if you're full, it doesn't matter if you have 1 pixel left. So don't necessarily go for this option, the plus on block option right away. Go for it like, okay, I'm already running out of meter. I'm not going to get anything real here. I might as well just take free plus frames, right? So you can do that. But that's more of a desperation measure, right? But it's there if you need it. So whatever move you dash cancel from, it's pretty much always going to be advantage on block. That's always handy. Also, whatever move you choose to heat dash cancel from, the move itself will give a potentially different effect every time. So Dragunov for 3/1+2, notice it's a gigantic bounce upwards. But another heat engager he has back for 3, not quite the same. We have like kind of that screw effect, but it's not kind of the gigantic bounce upwards. And say another different string here, 1/2/1. You see at this point they're just very low to the ground, right? So every move, the dash itself will be the same, but depending on the move, you might get big bounces for very easy combos, or they could be very low to the ground. Now heat's also very important for combos, both the heat burst, the raw heat burst, and heat dash, as they get you a lot more just space. A lot of Tekken is simply just trying to get the opponent to the corner, and once you get them on the corner, you maul them. Either you do specifically, big corner combos, or since you take their freedom of movement away, they make bad mistakes and you punish them for it, right? Corner's where you want to be. And sometimes you just need a few extra feet, a few extra meters to get there. And that's exactly what the heat system can offer you. So basic Jack B&B here, right? And I know we're not going to hit the corner, right? This is one of the big stages, but just to give you an idea of the rough distance traveled. Okay, fair enough. But let's put a heat burst in there. So there we go, a good amount further away, right? Just simply due to the fact that when we're juggling them, we pop them with sand too, just to float them a little further so we can hit them with the heat burst, down them, and just get a little bit more range. Now, this is the big stage, right? We're not hitting the corner necessarily, but these are the situations where it helps you hit the corner. So here we are on a more normal size stage, right? So I'm closer to the wall, but I want to hit the enemy on the other wall, right? If I go for my basic B&B combo, like, I'm going to hurt them, I'm going to do my damage, sure, right? But they're not exactly bouncing off that wall. Well, would you look at that? We took them corner to corner now, right? That's thanks just to the heat burst, giving us that just little bit extra more room to work with. And naturally enough, we can sweeten the deal too with some extra damage off the wall, whatever we want to work with, right? But yes, just the heat burst alone, right? Worth its weight in gold just to get you over the finish line. Because that extra few damage you might get from a wall combo, or just even the threat of the wall, if you don't get on the wall, could be the game. So it's not always necessarily the most damaging combo by itself when you look at it, but the game is so much about just travel distance, right? You got to carry them as far as you possibly can with a combo, and things like the heat burst, and of course heat dash cancel as well, definitely play into it. Another major part of heat is, well, the meter keeps going down, right? But a lot of characters, they can bring it back up if they do what the game wants you to do, like Ling here. So, shall you? Oh, it's almost gone. Oh, wait. It's coming back now. What's going on here? So, Ling, her Hypnotist stance, gets a lot of really buffed moves. Like Hypnotist 2 gets a big buff while you're in Heat stance. Hypnotist 3 as well. Normally, doesn't even knock down, but in Heat and in Hypnotist stance, it does knock down, right? And it uses up some of that heat gauge. But if you just let Hypnotist complete, then it'll give you a gigantic bonus of heat, right? So if you're using the stance, which the game wants you to use, then you get bonuses, right? If you just let it rock, you will regain heat. King, what does King want to do, right? He wants to throw you. So while you're in heat, you will be rewarded for throwing people. When you throw people here, like there you go, Shining Wizard, we just got meter back. How about a giant swing? Look at our meter here. When the giant swing's complete, oh, we just got some meter back, right? Muscle Buster, look at it complete here. Oh, we just got some meter back, right? So by doing what the game wants you to do, you will be rewarded, and you can stay in the heat state longer and longer and longer. This is naturally character to character. Everyone has their own unique rules. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, right? Thankfully, most of the time, if you go into the move list here, it'll tell you what the game expects out of you, right? When you go to techniques here in heat section, it says for King, okay, we want you to do throws. If you do throws, you're rewarded with even more heat meter. Great. So King can be the best version of himself longer and longer and longer, as long as he's following the game plan the game wants you to follow anyway. So it's basically win-win. And that is the guide. So hopefully this helps you understand the crazy heat system in Tekken 8. It's like at the soul of what the game is. Everything surrounds the heat system. You're there using it every round. It's refreshing every round, right? It's there to be used, so use it. And as I said, I hope this video has helped you understand how to use it better. That said, we're now at the end of the video, so, well, thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Tekken.